That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Idiots, the third film directed by Macon Blair, which premiered at the 2026 Sundance Film Festival under its original title, The Shitheads. IFC is releasing it theatrically August 28th, 2026.
Are you familiar with this director?
Yes, as are you. Macon Blair started out prominently as an actor, specifically in Jeremy Saulnier's films such as Green Room and Blue Ruin, both of which I quite liked. His directorial debut, I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, I believe won the top prize out of Sundance that year in 2017. And we reviewed Macon Blair's last film, his remake of The Toxic Avenger.
What is Idiots about? Two people who have hit rock bottom are forced to work together to transport a rich, troubled teen to rehab for a shady transport service.
I don't believe that they've hit rock bottom, but we'll get into it.
What is your pull quote?
Although it edges its characters to the limits of despair and delirium, Idiots curiously denies reveling in either the morbid cynicism or comic catharsis it often suggests. However, the chemistry between the leads assists in compensating for the simplistic chaos favored by the script.
Mine. Two losers, one depraved influencer, and a road trip should make for gloriously stupid fun. Unfortunately, Idiots left me feeling more depressed than entertained.
Depressed in that way that I gorged myself on food I thought I would like and then didn't.
The story is exactly what I read. The two idiots are played by
Dave Franco and O'Shea Jackson Jr. as Mark and Davis, respectively.
They're hired to transport this troubled rich kid to rehab. That kid is played by
Mason Thames,
who I know from
that Colleen Hoover film.
That's right. His character's name is Sheridan.
As in Anne.
Or Nicolette.
Yes. Both blondes.
Of course, the trip to rehab is filled with obstacles, and we'll get to how it ends. I was confused by this film, so I was reading about what the filmmaker said when it premiered at Sundance. And it sounds like the intention was to make a crowd-pleasing comedy, but also show the effects of privilege, people behaving terribly, the possibility of genuine human connection amongst deeply troubled people. But then when he was asked, who is this movie for? He said, for party people. And I would have guessed that
Sure.
The director is not trying to take it too seriously. And I don't mind that.
I don't mind that either. But it feels like it doesn't go to either extreme, like either be more scatological then or, give us something subversive and profound.
But the net result just left me bummed out.
Yeah, I mean, the themes, it seems like, are very obvious about economic disparity in contemporary America. And the film is set in Virginia based on all the license plates that I glimpsed in it. But I know that Macon Blair is obsessed with Alex Cox's film Repo Man, which I just was a film that had eluded me until last night when I also watched that. And you could see that he's paying homage to that. But Repo Man is dealing quite interestingly with skewering Reagan's foreign policy, etc. But, in this film where O'Shea Jackson keeps telling Dave Franco to put the seatbelt on, which I'm pretty sure is a shout out to Cy Richardson from Repo Man, but also The Last Detail. I don't know if you watched that with me, with Jack Nicholson and Otis Young having to escort Randy Quaid. It's a 1973 film, and they kind of have a very similar hapless trajectory. But that film, that's a classic and from the New American Cinema movement, and had an incredible amount of depth to it, which I don't see here. But it has moments, but I think that they're generated purely by the charm of Franco and Jackson.
The way I felt about It Ends is sort of how I feel about this film. But to get into the story, we meet Davis first, O'Shea's character. He works for a church doing recreation with kids from the church. And we see he's in trouble because he took the kids to see a film called Antichrist. I don't know that it's Lars von Trier's Antichrist, but it sounds like it was something that was way too adult and sexual for church kids.
It did. The way they were describing it, I know there are phalluses shown in that Lars von Trier film, but the way they were talking about it, also, that came out in 2009. So where was that showing? What art house theater in modern day? And then the retitling to The Idiots is also, potentially a shout out to a Lars von Trier film, but I guess I wanted that to be more clear for me.
Either way, it's a strong start. It's obvious Davis is a sweet guy, if not dumb.
Naive.
really wants this job, but is ultimately fired. On the same day, we see Mark, Dave Franco's character, at work. He appears to work for a bill collecting agency, and while he should be making calls, he is instead watching YouTube videos, vaping, and drinking.
Yeah, spiking his coffee.
So he gets fired.
Although it's posed to him as it's budget cuts.
Mark goes to see a friend who is actually played by the director, looking for drugs to suppress his feelings. And the friend says, hey, if you're looking for a job, I know someone who needs a delivery person. Mark decides to go check it out. And it's this lady who appears to be like a bail bondsman. But we also see she's cooking and packaging drugs in the back.
I mean, we all have to be a multi-hyphenate these days.
She immediately gives Dave a job as a courier, and he's supposed to partner with Davis. Unfortunately, the vehicle Davis was using was the church's van. Now that he's been fired, he doesn't have access to a van. What are they going to do? Mark drives this raggedy Buick, and the bail bondsman lady says, well, we can just use your car. They get to this big fancy mansion and pick up Sheridan. And he's the son of a billionaire.
Yeah. Sociopath.
It's obvious immediately he is going to be difficult. We also find out that the couriers, Mark and Davis, are solely responsible.
Yes, and almost immediately a good cop, bad cop, angel versus demon dichotomy begins.
So for the first half of the movie, it plays like a dumb buddy comedy until Mark's car gets a flat tire. They end up having to spend the night at a hotel. Sheridan clocks Mark has drugs, decides to drug Davis, convinces Mark to hire a stripper.
Irina, played by Kiernan Shipka.
And the film takes a very dark turn because Sheridan assaults the stripper, steals her money, and absconds. And that's when we learn Sheridan is actually very popular on social media for his horrible antics. In fact, he is most known for setting as they refer to him, a bum on fire.
Yes.
But because his family is very wealthy, they were able to pretty much sweep it under the rug and pay off this man who was badly injured.
So it's the comedy version of Paolo Verzi's Human Capital.
So the second half of the film is Mark Davis and Irina trying to find Sheridan because she wants her money back. And Mark and Davis know that if they don't transport Sheridan to rehab, they're screwed. They are ultimately able to catch up with him. But this little demon gets on his phone and basically says, I've been kidnapped by a couple of perverts. They're in a red Buick, license plate, ... I'm headed east on whatever highway. If you find me and rescue me, I'll give you $5 million. And this is where things really go south for me.
Yeah, I think that it's here where the film develops some pacing issues.
Because Peter Dinklage as a character named Koko,
who says he's named after the famous gorilla,
shows up with his crew in a Sprinter van, retrieve Sheridan, kidnap Mark and Davis, and then it becomes this zany, nonsensical situation where Mark and Davis get dropped off in the middle of the woods, and they keep Sheridan because they realize he doesn't have $5 million to give them.
So they're going to ask for ransom.
But Mark and Davis end up grabbing him and ultimately getting him to rehab the end.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about Peter Dinklage's character, because on the other end of the spectrum, we have Irina, the exotic dancer, who's assaulted, who ultimately decides to work with Mark and Davis to get her money back. And she takes them to what appears to be her grandmother's house. And I thought that side quest was very interesting.
That was interesting because they give Kiernan Shipka some humanity.
Yes.
And the people I felt the worst for actually after this film ended were her character, because she gets screwed out of half her money and she, mentions some degrading details about what she had to go through to get it.
Right.
And the hotel employee that O'Shea Jackson has to mess with to get what they need. I felt bad for that man.
Yes. But Irina's grandmother, she's a fun character. Because she's kind of like this decrepit old lady, but she's there to support her granddaughter. There's even kind of like a makeout session with the grandma and Dave Franco a little bit that I found really cute.
They're flirting.
So those supporting characters I really liked, but then you get to Peter Dinklage. I'm so confused because he's traveling with this very beautiful woman who I think we're supposed to believe is his girlfriend.
I wasn't sure.
And this man named Pricka Bush, who I did find very amusing.
He is, I mean, that was almost so zany. He works.
Yes.
But then all of the shit with Dinklage and the other one, like, it's just boring.
Because Pricka Bush reminded me of, like, maybe if you mix someone from Insane Clown Posse with a SoundCloud rapper. And his alternate persona is a werewolf that I found amusing, but...
He goes through the motion. What's that movie where it's a George Romero film where the boy believes he's a vampire? I think it's called Martin. And he goes around biting on people, but he's not really a vampire. That's what this man is doing. He's like, watch me transform. It's creepy. And he has those grills.
He has full, like, top and bottom.
You need to show Karen Black in the end of Trilogy of Terror when she's got those.
Yeah, imagine those teeth with gold plated.
Like those, sir, those are uncomfortable. I know they are.
I feel like Peter Dinklage is often used as sort of this quirky seasoning to a movie. And I feel like in this instance, it feels arbitrary to me.
Yes. You know, and that was something as an actor he has railed against. I mean, it made me think of that scene in Living in Oblivion. Like, did he think that, I don't know, it was stupid in a way that was kind of, like I said, a killer for the pacing. That was when I started checking my watch.
Rewinding a little bit though, some of the details I feel like aren't fully utilized. For example, when Mark and Davis go to pick up Sheridan, Sheridan tries to run, but is kind of messing with them, and Mark ends up spraining his ankle. So for the entire film, he's walking with a limp, but I don't know how that added to anything.
I don't either. And also, the kid was still on his property. Like, you know, he wasn't getting anywhere. But there's like a point made that Kiernan Shipka's character, Irina, brings it up, telling Mark that he's more like Sheridan than he thinks, which is maybe why he's not the ideal person to, like, they're triggering for each other perhaps, but it doesn't really explore any of those things.
Well, let's just talk about that quickly. The movie's called Idiots, so I can't be too frustrated that these two just make stupid decision after stupid decision. What I think would have made more sense to me is you have these two idiots, and maybe if they put their two brain cells each together, they can actually figure shit out.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But that's not what this is. Davis, O'Shea Jackson's character, he's very religious, very thoughtful.
Very sweet.
Sweet. And at times, it's hard to believe that he would be so stupid.
I don't know. People are raggedy.
Something didn't quite work for me with his character. On the other end, you have Mark, Dave Franco's character, who is likable, but seems to have like anger management issues. He's not self-aware at all.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think a little background would have been nice to give us a hint about why they are where they are now.
Right.
Because they're both a little too old to be doing some of these things.
Which leads me to my confusion with what this film is trying to say. And if the filmmaker is just saying that it's just meant to be a good time, then I guess it doesn't really matter. But initially my thought was, oh, is it trying to say that people with privilege will always wiggle their way out of trouble and that nice guys always finish last? But when the film ended, the biggest thought I had was like, oh, don't be an idiot. But also, if you
don't be a menace,
aren't, you're still gonna end up being screwed. So
I mean, Sheridan is troubling, and he reminded me. Actually, now that I think of it, it reminded me of that Rob Reiner film about his son being Charlie.
Oh, sure.
I mean, that's at the level that this child is at, and not that we talked kind of at length after we got out of the theater that life doesn't allow for the kind of catharsis where someone such as Sheridan is going to get his comeuppance and learn his lesson, you know, in a 90, 100-minute movie. And I'm fine with that. But I think Macon Blair is also trying to make this a friendship film. And there are really nice, some emotional moments at the end. And then they kind of get bungled at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's curious. I think I had like a curious feeling leaving the theater.
I agree. I don't need or think it's possible to show this psychopathic teenager learning a lesson, but specifically at the point where he's kidnapped by Peter Dinklage and his gang, and Pricka Bush has him hostage in the attic, forcing him to watch his music video, which I did think was funny. I was hoping for a deliverance moment.
Ooh, squeal like a pig.
Right, but we don't get anything of the sort. Getting back to details, though, that aren't fully fleshed out, when the trio first get to the hotel, because they're stranded with this flat tire, we see that there's a conference of the Grocery Retailers Association.
And where did that go?
Okay, because we find out after Sheridan assaults the exotic dancer and escapes, he actually doesn't leave the hotel. He stays with this group of guys who initially, when we first see two of them, I almost thought they were meant to be gay.
One of them is the director's brother.
Because they seem really excited to see this like teenage boy they recognize from social media. And then we find out that Sheridan spent the night partying with a group of men who all look the same, like these white bearish men, and they're all in like their underwear and shirtless or tank tops, partying in this suite at this roadside hotel. And I'm failing to understand the connection. Like, who are Sheridan's fans? And also, why show that there's a big group of grocery retailers? Like, is that his core audience?
Well, I feel like that was just a missed opportunity in this, or just a bit of randomness, which is fine. I thought it was amusing how the interior of the hotel is designed, because it's this gross green color that you had painted a kitchen wall of ours once, a similar color. But the name of the paint, I don't remember it, but it was suggesting that it wasn't good for your mental health.
The name had manic in it. I recall that. It was ugly.
It was ugly. It's alarming. But the inside of it looks like a rotting womb, this hotel. And it feels like the level of slapstick that you're desiring from that moment is not reached.
The most memorable moment of the film for me is in the hotel room. Sheridan has clocked Dave Franco is using drugs. The drugs his buddy gave him were horse tranquilizers, so something like a ketamine, I guess, and this liquid that's called citrus diesel. And he's told to only use a couple drops. But we see Mark's dumb ass pour in like half the bottle. So Sheridan spikes a can of cola with those drugs to give to Davis, and then adds a little more of the drugs to Mark's cola. So they're both tripping balls. Davis is wandering around the property of the hotel.
He can't find his way back.
He can't find his way back to his room. That's when we first meet the man running the hotel. But Mark starts to get sick to his stomach, and we can hear his stomach grumbling. And I don't think I've ever seen this in a movie, but he has explosive diarrhea. But the way, because his character's sitting on an accent chair in this shitty hotel room, and the way the explosive diarrhea looks, it's like those paint packs in the bank robbery bags. It just like pops out. I won't forget that for a while.
Yeah, that was pretty good. But then they have to return to the hotel to find Sheridan and Irina's stuff. I don't know. It never kind of gets back to that shit moment.
No, and you already mentioned this, but they have to distract the hotel manager. And it's Davis who does so. And he's trying to say mean things to him just to get him to follow him. The man ultimately catches up to him.
He's talking rude about this man's mama.
But apologizes. The man won't let him go. So Davis...
Because he sees his friends escorting a tied up Sheridan out, and he grabs Davis as in screaming for somebody to shout 911. And Davis has to punch this man right in the face. You know what it reminded me of, actually? That moment in Stanley Kubrick's The Killing, when the assassin needs to get that black parking attendant away from him, so he calls him a racial slur. And it's like, you know he didn't want to do that, and just the soul crushingness of it. Again, that is a moment that stayed with me from this film, but I wish that idiots had dared to go there more and show, how ruinous humanity can be and how we all need to make better choices sometimes.
So after Peter Dinklage and his crew catch up to them, take Sheridan and Mark and Davis, they drag Mark and Davis out to the middle of the woods, and it appears they're going to execute them. But then they just leave them stranded. So now the two guys are wandering the highway trying to figure out what to do. They end up hitching a ride with someone, and they see Mark's car parked in front of a house along with the Sprinter van. And Davis's crazy ass gets out and says, I'm going to go in there. I just don't think their stupidity was at a level that I almost needed them to be like Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah. What are their names again? Lloyd Christmas. Yeah. So hapless that their stupidity does a 180 and almost saves them.
It's their protection. Davis goes in the house, but Mark refuses and continues to walk down the highway when this very pleasant, middle-aged black woman stops, playing inspirational music.
And let's Dave Franco, who looks bedraggled, to say the least at this point in time.
I mean, even I wouldn't have picked him up.
She let him in the car.
And we find out that she lives at the house where Peter Dinklage and his crew are. All of that was so confusing to me. I don't know her relationship to these people. It seems like Dinklage's girlfriend is her daughter, but then the lady seems like she's part of some nefarious stuff they're into. A fight ensues, and Mark and Davis are able to escape with Sheridan in the backseat.
Dinklage shoots himself in the foot. Yeah.
All the while, Sheridan is tied up. And the most confusing part of the final act of the film, once they're able to rescue Sheridan and make their way to rehab, is they untie him. Would you have untied that boy?
Hell no. I wouldn't try. The moment Dave Franco sees him smirk when they get him, no, I would have that child's phone would not be accessible to him. I mean, hell no. I mean, they're also really naive because they have no idea who they're transporting or why. It's like, you should know what you're messing with.
Well, at a point they do learn and they see, and they still kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. Like they think they bonded.
Every time that kid says he's sorry, the moment they go stop at that restaurant and the tire has a flat, and we later see the blade of a steak knife taken out of it, I already knew it would have been that child that did that.
They get to rehab, get Sheridan out of the car, and immediately that quote unquote bum he set on fire is waiting there. I don't know how that man knew Sheridan was going to be there.
Sheridan, I mean, it was being very public about where he is and going and when. So maybe he was able to, and he was due sometime that day.
But that man shows up and tries to assassinate Sheridan.
I felt bad for that man too.
I did too, but accidentally shoots Dave Franco in the face.
Through the hand that goes through his cheek.
So the ending is, it appears Sheridan's parents have bailed him out again because the rehab center, it's clear they've been bribed. We see Mark in the hospital recovering. Davis is still working for that lady transporting people.
Well, what else is he gonna do?
And the final shot is Mark has received mail, specifically a letter saying that he can apply for disability benefits. And he is very excited, like he's hit the lottery.
Mark reminded me of my dad many times in this film.
Like you said, I think the chemistry between Dave Franco and O'Shea Jackson Jr. works well. So that was probably the most pleasant part of this film, is seeing those two interact.
I mean, the part where, they, by the end, it's clear that they have trauma bonded. And I do believe that these two maybe would go on to be supportive friends for one another, and I like that feeling the film gives me. But the moment where Dave Franco thinks he's dying and O'Shea Jackson is consoling him, that was my favorite moment. That was where I actually was getting teary.
Sure. Again, there are a number of moments where I laughed, but when I was walking out of the theater, I felt kind of icky.
I did like the closing song over the credits, though. It's called Highway by Shit Kid.
This is not a film I would watch again.
Probably not. As opposed to, we brought up The Wrong Girls with Kristen Stewart and Aaliyah Shawkat right after that, in a similar bumbling duo comedy. And I probably would watch Wrong Girls again.
Yes.
Idiots, not so much. And I'm curious what you think too, because you did keep saying I shouldn't be surprised with a film called Idiots, but how does the sentiment of the shitheads change how you would feel about them? Because I think they should have kept that original title.
Again, because I'm not quite sure what we're saying about these two guys. I don't know that they're written in a way that fully makes sense to me.
Because O'Shea Jackson Jr. is not a shithead.
No, and in some moments seems quite smart. He's not a dunce. He's just naive and believes in people too much.
Yes.
Because there's a moment after they're made aware, Sheridan has put out an all points bulletin that he's been abducted by perverts, that Davis sees a couple on the side of the road and decides to pull over to help them. And of course, everyone's screaming like, do not stop. That couple ends up actually needing help, but it's because they stop that Peter Dinklage and his crew catch up. What would you give Idiots?
2.5.
I would give this 2.5 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.